This is the oldest mountain range in the world, and for 100 years, mining these mountains has brought jobs for the people here. But nowadays, when they mine here in West Virginia, they don't take the coal from the mountains, they literally take the mountains from the coal. Strip mining, a form of open-cast mining, has devastated whole sections of this landscape.
Hard to believe that the people has no idea what they're doing up here on top of these mountains, but they know it's something.
These machines gouge the tops right off the mountains. It's one of the most brutish and efficient methods of mining known to man. This is how an estimated 500 square miles of ancient hills have been obliterated, the land churned into an apocalyptic moonscape, which the miners then try to clean up. Coal is a filthy business, from when it's mined to when it's burnt. In the power plants, it gives off massive greenhouse gas emissions. But the reality is, it's a secure supply of energy, which turns the lights on in more than half the United States. In August 2005, Hurricane Katrina thundered along the Gulf Coast. It became one of the worst natural disasters in America's history. It was a year of more Category 5 hurricanes than ever recorded. New scientific evidence emerged indicating global warming could fuel intense storms. Scientists accuse the Bush administration of deliberately misleading the public on the issue.
When much of the country were glued to their television watching the events unfolding in New Orleans, it was disturbing the fact that they were repeatedly told that there was no relationship between global warming and hurricanes. That was the official position.
Today, New Orleans is still eerily desolate. Houses and possessions left as they were on the day. Hurricane Katrina ripped through people's lives abruptly and without mercy. It was one of the strongest storms ever to hit the Gulf Coast. The crushing floodwaters killed at least 1,200 people, some right here on these streets. Few Americans knew it, but just 4 weeks before the hurricane's waters surged down these roads, alarming new scientific evidence had been published. It found that global warming could be significantly increasing the intensity of hurricanes.
These hurricanes are forming spontaneously.
A specialist on the subject, Tom Knutson, who works for the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, was asked to discuss the new research on television, but he says he was gagged by the administration. Just before Katrina hit, he'd been contacted by his office.
We're just checking to see if you might be interested in appearing on this show, a talk show, where you can talk about your research.
He agreed for the next day, but his office called back. His interview had been vetoed by an unexpected source.
It's the White House. The White House said no. This is just a voicemail message. So I was.
The White House.
The White House said no. So I was a bit surprised. I said, well, to hear that.
On August the 23rd, Katrina's winds set out northwards. It began as a Category 1 hurricane. But then it swept over a pool of unusually warm water in the Gulf of Mexico. The world's oceans were at their hottest in recorded history, and Katrina was rapidly transformed into a raging demon. NOAA, the federal body that monitors hurricanes, then made this categorical statement. It said on its website that unusual hurricane activity is not related to greenhouse warming.
My reaction was that it was categorically incorrect. Hurricanes that are going over warm water intensify. And hurricanes in a global warming Earth going over ever more warming water will intensify more.
You worked in NOAA for 30 years. Yeah. Why would NOAA have come out with a statement like that?
The only thing I can say is that it was ideologically driven.
The world was changing dramatically, but few scientists yet dared speak of censorship. Then in December, it got worse. NASA announced that last year was the hottest year ever recorded. Its top climate scientist issued a warning. We're rapidly reaching the point of no return.
We're getting very close to a tipping point where we're going to have climate changes that are out of our control.
Scientists said if action's not taken within a decade, millions of the world's poorest could face drought and starvation. Heat and ice melt could swell seas far more than originally predicted. And critically, for the administration, this means mainland America would be hit too.
So there would be enormous impacts, not just New Orleans, but in the United States, you'd be talking about Boston, New York, Washington, D.C. There'd be many cities underwater.
When Dr. Hansen rang this alarm bell at a speech in December, the repercussions were swift.
People had been bouncing off the walls at NASA headquarters. It was described as a shitstorm. And I was told that I should not give any further talks without first getting approval from NASA headquarters. And if I didn't obey this instructions, that there would be dire consequences without explanation of what dire consequences were.
Hansen says his public utterings were then all subjected to official review. He felt cornered.
Anything that was to be put on our website would have to have prior approval from NASA headquarters. And any future talks would need to have prior approval from NASA headquarters. And any interviews with any of the media would require prior approval by NASA headquarters.